Tonight on Y News. Authorities implement heightened measures at ports as reports of suspected novel coronavirus has reached the country. State seismologists record less ash emission and volcanic earthquakes caused by Taal volcano. 21 barangays in Tanawan City, Batangas have been placed under total lockdown. DNA results confirm that former Batangas Congressman Attorney Edgar Mendoza was among the fatalities found inside a burnt car in Tiaong, Quezon. 5 suspects in the crime are now in police custody. The Department of Public Works and Highways expects 20 to 30% reduction of EDSA traffic by the second quarter of 2020. And UNTV exclusive, volcanic ash spewed by Taal volcano has reached the Great Barrio Reef in Balite, San Luis, Batangas. Good evening. The Department of Health says residents in the region need not worry about the Wuhan coronavirus. This, although a Chinese boy now confined in a Cebu City hospital is showing symptoms of the novel coronavirus infection. Meanwhile, ports authorities tighten their medical quarantine protocols to prevent the entry of the virus in the country. Joanano has the story.
A Chinese boy diagnosed with symptoms of Wuhan coronavirus infection remains confined in a hospital in Cebu City. The Department of Health says the condition of the child is gradually improving. The boy is being treated in an isolation room with his mother by his side. The two are not allowed to leave the hospital as experts await the results of the examination being conducted by the Victorian Infectious Disease Reference Laboratory in Melbourne, Australia. The mother and child arrived in Cebu City from Wuhan, China, where the disease originated.
Konting ubo, wala na pong lagnat, pero nakakapagtaka lang bakit yung nanay wala naman sintomas na ipinakita. Kaya meron pa rin posibilidad na baka hindi naman talaga ito posible, hindi ito novel coronavirus.
The Department of Health Region 7 assures residents in the region have nothing to worry about in relation to the virus. The DOH says it is continuously monitoring 12 medical personnel who have had close contact with the child, although the medical staff have not shown any symptoms of the Wuhan coronavirus infection. Meanwhile, the Bureau of Quarantine has heightened measures at ports across the country due to reports of suspected novel coronavirus from China. Additional thermal scanners were installed at terminals of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA. Quarantine staff were ordered to wear masks at all times as they are the first to interact with arriving passengers. According to NAIA officers, an individual with a body temperature of 36.5 degrees Celsius would set off the scanner's alarm. If confirmed, the traveler would be given a medical examination and would be interviewed about their travel history. Meanwhile, former Health Secretary and now Iloilo Representative Janet Garin proposed the use of health declaration checklist for all international arrivals and not only selected ones. According to Garin, this will help prevent the virus from spreading further in the country. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue.
The United States has confirmed the first case of the new coronavirus on its territory. The Centers for Disease Control said the virus, which originated in China, had been diagnosed in a U.S. resident who arrived in Seattle from China. Kath Dumaraos details this report.
A never-before-seen virus detected in the central Chinese city of Wuhan has claimed 9 lives and has infected hundreds of Chinese citizens with a pneumonia-like illness, according to China's National Health Commission. The outbreak of the new coronavirus may not have reached pandemic levels yet, but it has now spread into the United States. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, a man on his 30s and lives in Snohomish County, Washington, tested positive of the virus. The man became ill 4 days after arriving in the United States from Wuhan on 15th of January and sought care. The patient is now in isolation at the Providence Regional Medical Center in Everett, Washington. As of today, 445 cases of Wuhan coronavirus have been confirmed. The bulk are in China, but cases have been also confirmed. 2 in Thailand and 1 in Japan, South Korea, and now the U.S. North Korea has temporarily closed its borders to foreign tourists in response to the threat, a tour operator says. Scientists haven't developed any reliable treatments of vaccines that can eradicate the coronavirus. In most cases, health officials attempt to deal with the symptoms. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
Aside from Taal volcano eruption, one of the issues being tackled nowadays on a global scale is a new virus that has caused an outbreak in China. Various countries have begun implementing measures to prevent the entry of the new virus, though experts are still uncertain of the strength or weakness of the infective agent. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
Experts remain curious about some information on a new strain of coronavirus also known as Wuhan coronavirus. For one is its difference from the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome-related coronavirus or MERS-CoV first reported in 2012, and the Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome-related coronavirus or SARS-CoV that first infected humans in the Guangdong province of southern China in 2002. According to experts, the Wuhan coronavirus originated from Huanan Seafood Wholesale Market in Wuhan, the sprawling capital of central China's Hubei province. China first confirmed transmission of the virus is human to human. Though experts are still uncertain if the original source of the new strain of virus is a live or wild animal or a carcass.
Nobody can definitively say if this actually originated from animals, which particular animal. Marami tayong inaantay na mga makatutulong na sa pag-unawa at pag-iintindi ng patungkol sa novel coronavirus from the WHO.
Based on initial information from the Department of Health, the Wuhan coronavirus can be transmitted from an infected person to another individual through direct physical contact.
Generally, the coronavirus's spread is via aerial droplets, aerosolized. So which means yung pagbahing, pagsinga, ay pamamaraan maikakalat ito.
Secretary Duque further says it is unclear until now what strain it is and whether it is as strong or weaker than MERS-CoV or SARS-CoV. Based on reported confirmed cases, it appears that its mortality rate is not like SARS-CoV or MERS-CoV. As precautionary measures, the public is advised to practice proper hygiene, exercise regular hand washing, avoid crowded places and people with influenza. Based on the WHO's advisory, the symptoms of Wuhan coronavirus infection include elevated body temperature or fever, dry cough and shortness of breath or difficulty in breathing, and severe pneumonia. Governments in various countries have begun implementing heightened health measures and protocols at international ports for arriving passengers, especially those coming from Wuhan, China. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Philippines continues to observe less activities of the Taal volcano. These include lower emission of ash and incidents of volcanic earthquakes, but these do not mean the alert level may already be downgraded. Dante Amento explains why.
The local government of Tanawan City, Batangas has placed 21 of its barangays on total lockdown. This move is in accordance with the call of the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology and the Department of the Interior and local government. The barangays are located within the 14-kilometer danger zone established by authorities. Hence, allowing entry to those areas may endanger one's life should the Taal volcano suddenly erupt. Before the total lockdown was imposed, residents of the 21 barangays were given window hours to return to their houses to fetch some belongings or feed their pets and livestock.
Philippines recorded 2 consecutive low sulfur dioxide emissions from the Taal volcano from 6 a.m. yesterday until 6 a.m. today. From 4,000 tons per day since the early eruption, the sulfur dioxide emission has decreased to 153 tons since yesterday. However, such observation is not enough basis to lower the volcano's alert level. The agency explains the hardened magma inside the volcano's crater may be the cause of the low emission of ash. The hardened magma may be hindering the ash from escaping into the atmosphere. PHIVOLCS also emphasizes, despite the decline in the incidence of volcanic earthquakes, the public must not be complacent.
Itong mga earthquakes na to ay unti-unti na silang nag-diminish, pati yung mga low frequency events. Pero hindi ibig sabihin ay kampante na tayo.
The alert level will be downgraded only with acceptable probabilities, Chief Bornas adds.
Ibababa po naman natin ang alert level. After siguro po natin na ang probabilities for an eruption ay mababa na. Kumbaga yung acceptable na po yung probabilities.
PHIVOLCS clarifies, if the alert level is downgraded to alert level 3, that will not mean residents may already return to their homes. Areas within the 14-kilometer radius danger zone from the volcano's crater remain off limits to residents. Dampiamento, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Tanawan City government implements a total lockdown in 21 of its barangays. Quick response teams will be stationed in 8 areas as authorities anticipate damaging activities of the Taal volcano. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
The local government of Tanawan City, Batangas has placed 21 of its barangays on total lockdown. This move is in accordance with the call of the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology and the Department of the Interior and Local Government. The barangays are located within the 14-kilometer danger zone established by authorities. Hence, allowing entry to those areas may endanger one's life should the Taal volcano suddenly erupt. Before the total lockdown was imposed, residents of the 21 barangays were given window hours to return to their houses to fetch some belongings or feed their pets and livestock. But with the total lockdown now in effect, authorities have designated 8 stations to prevent civilian entry.
Dito po pwesto yung ating mga quick response team. Kasi nga po, at any rate na mag-i-increase pa yung alert level ng ating scan, merely purpose po yan kung sakali po na may mga maiiwan pa doon na mamamataan po nila.
A total of 75,224 residents of the 21 identified barangays are now temporarily staying in 35 evacuation centers in other parts of Tanawan City. Other residents opt to stay with their relatives in nearby areas.
We were just waiting for the go signal ng PHIVOLCS na it is really safe to let them be back on their places.
Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Batangas.
The local government of Tanawan City, Batangas continues to rescue trapped animals amid the threat of an imminent hazardous eruption of the Taal volcano. But according to authorities, they cannot accommodate all the animals that remain stranded in danger zones. Mirasol Abogodil will tell us why.
23 cows and 3 horses were rescued by the Tanawan City Veterinary Office and the Carabao Center of the Philippines from barangays Balele, Gonzales, and Wawa yesterday. The 3 barangays are located within the 14-kilometer permanent danger zone. The animals were brought to an auction market slaughterhouse in Barangay 4, Tanawan City. Here, owners can feed their animals until residents are advised it is safe for them to return to their homes. The rescuers also provided food and vitamins to stray dogs.
Ang kautusan ng ating mayor is i-evacuate lahat ng animals, but tingin ko hindi lahat ng farmers is willing mag-evacuate since logistics na naman.
Local authorities admit they cannot rescue all the animals inside the city due to their large number.
Hirap ang transport. Nakakaranas kami, nagtatransport kami ng baboy, ng baka. Inaabot kami ng kalahating araw para sa 20 heads na baka.
The city veterinary office will continue the evacuation of animals in the next 4 days. Meanwhile, hog racers in Tanawan City are selling their pigs for just 25 pesos per kilogram. A cooperative is selling 20 live hogs in Tanawan City to be used to feed residents in evacuation centers in the city. According to the hog racers, they cannot take care of their pigs due to the implemented total lockdown. The city veterinary office assures that the hogs are safe for human consumption. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up to where Angelo Castro III left off. I am Alex Baltazar, and here are the headlines. DNA test results confirmed that former Batangas Congressman Attorney Edgar M. Mendoza was among the fatalities found inside a burnt car in Yaon, Quezon. 5 suspects in the crime are now in police custody. The Department of Public Works and Highways expects 20 to 30% reduction of EDSA traffic by the second quarter of 2020. The Department of Transportation Technical Working Group raises motorcycle taxi cap to 63,000. Authorities pay out a total of 15.4 million pesos to tipsters for help finding and neutralizing local terrorists. President Duterte's net satisfaction rating reaches new record high at 72% based on the latest SWS survey. Good evening. The Philippine National Police have seized 5 suspects in the slaying of a former congressman, his driver, and his aide in Quezon Province. One of the suspects is believed to be the mastermind of the crime. Leia Ilagan reports why.
The Criminal Investigation and Detection Group of the Philippine National Police, or PNP-CIDG, confirms that 5 suspects in the slaying of former Batangas 2nd District Representative Edgar Mendoza, his aide Nicanor Mendoza, and his driver, Ruel Ruiz, are now in custody. CIDG Director, Police Brigadier General Joel Coronel says one of the suspects is believed to be the mastermind of the crime. The PNP's primary investigation arm is now looking at financial and legal dispute as the motive of the crime. Authorities will file 3 counts of murder cases against them.
They're undergoing investigation as of the moment, and then we're in the process of gathering additional evidence. And we will be also consulting with the Office of the Department of Justice prosecutors on this account, so that we'll be able to file a strong case against the suspect.
Meanwhile, the PNP Crime Laboratory has released the results of the DNA test on the 3 burnt bodies inside a car on San Francisco Bridge, Barangay San Francisco, Tiaon, Quezon last January 9. PNP spokesperson Police Brigadier General Bernard Banac says the DNA test results confirmed the burned bodies belong to the ex-Solon, his aide, and his driver. The DNA samples used were those of their relatives. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Authorities have decided to push through with the pilot test run for motorcycle taxis after coming up with several adjustments in their guidelines. The Transportation Department also says no new player will be allowed to take part in the pilot test run. Joan Ano tells us why.
The Department of Transportation Technical Working Group has decided to push through with a 3-month pilot test run for motorcycle taxis. This after an executive session was held earlier today in the House of Representatives, during which officials of the DOTR-TWG and representatives from various motorcycle taxi firms conducted a closed-door discussion. This means that bike taxis operating on roads in cities identified by the TWG will not be apprehended within the 3-month period. The interagency group has also increased the cap of motorcycle taxis to 63,000 from the previous 39,000. Of this number, 45,000 will be allowed to operate in Metro Manila, 9,000 units in Metro Cebu, and in Cagayan de Oro City, which recently been included in the pilot test run.
Kagaya po ng sinabi namin, we are considering all sentiments and yung recommendations. That's why we came up into this adding of area of study and the raising up of the cap.
ANCAS, for its part, vows to withdraw the cases they have filed against the guidelines set by the government for motorcycle taxis.
We are now in the spirit of collaboration. We spoke with the Secretary yesterday. We also, heeded to the opinions of the senators and the good congressmen today. And hopefully we can get the, success of the pilot for the necessary law to be passed.
The DOTR-TWG has also decided to waive its recommendation to put ANCAS on blacklist for the pilot test run. As of now, the TWG will proceed with the registration process for bike taxis, though they have yet to set a deadline for this. The officials also reiterate they will not accommodate new players as the pilot test run is underway. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The government is optimistic that EDSA Metro Manila's busiest thoroughfare could be decongested before the first quarter of 2020 ends. According to the Public Works and Highways Secretary, he believes that the 5-minute travel from Cubao to Makati is still possible. Rosalie Cos details why.
Once completed and opened to public come April 2020, the Metro Manila Skyway Stage 3 will relieve EDSA of around 100,000 vehicles. This is aside from the 30,000 trucks to be relieved through the NLEX Harbor Link Segment 10, which will open in March. The Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, says through these infrastructure projects, the traffic situation on the worst traffic spot in Metro Manila will improve.
With the second half of this year, we will relieve EDSA of 20 to 30%. And malaki po ang improvements. EDSA, for the first year starting this year and in subsequent years, we will see continued improvement along EDSA.
The 2 road projects to open in the first quarter this year are aside from the bridge projects. Bypass roads and skyways aim to be accomplished under the Build infrastructure projects of the Duterte administration. Thus, Secretary Villar says the 5-minute travel from Cubao, Quezon City to Makati City is still possible.
Pag natapos na yung Skyway, luluwag din ng EDSA. So, sa term ni President, madidecongest natin ng EDSA. At yung 5 minutes from Cubao to Makati, posible po.
The cabinet member also believes that if all infrastructure projects are accomplished, EDSA could be brought to its original capacity of 280,000 vehicles with around 400,000 cars traversing it every day.
I can say at this point in this administration, we will deliver on the promise to bring back EDSA to its original capacity.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue.
Meanwhile, Public Works Secretary Mark Villar denies that his family is interested in the National Capital Region's water distribution sector in Metro Manila. President Rodrigo Duterte has mentioned before the Villars can handle the water distribution in the NCR after consistently criticizing Maynilad and Manila Water for the water concessionaire's allegedly onerous contracts with the government. The Villar family owns Prime Water Infrastructure, which manages the water distribution in several provinces.
Is your family interested in the water distribution business in Metro Manila?
Is my family? No.
No. Kasi, well, may mga up for negotiation yung contracts, and do you wanna...
I am not in any position to answer questions regarding, as I have no involvement, so I'm in no position to answer any questions related to that.
4 tipsters whose information has led to the arrest and neutralization of some local terrorists were given their rewards this morning. A few of those terrorists were killed in joint operations of the military and the police. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
4 informants of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police receive a total of 15.4 million pesos as reward money for giving vital information that has led to the arrest and neutralization of several local terrorists. One of those informants is the one who gave information on Isnilon Hapilon, the emir of ISIS in Southeast Asia, and on Omar Maute, one of the leaders of the Maute terrorist group. He received 12.4 million pesos because Hapilon had a 7.4 million peso bounty on his head, while Omar had a bounty of 5 million pesos on his head. Both terrorists were killed in a joint military and police operation in Marawi City on October 16, 2017. Another tipster was rewarded 600,000 pesos for providing authorities with information on Maute Group leader Jumar Ibrahim in Bagong Silangan, Caloocan City. Authorities ensure the arrest of Ibrahim will not cause alarm due to the presence of the terrorist in Metro Manila.
As of now, wala tayong ganong threat level na mataas. All the, alam niyo yung pupunta rito, just like before, may mga tumatakbo from the area, from Mindanao. May mga kamag-anak yan dito.
They're here not
to launch or not to go into an operation, but a pure visit. And of course, it is the responsibility of the law enforcement side to implement yung warrant of arrest, and immaterial of who you are. As long as you have a warrant of arrest, then the PNP is going to serve it.
The informant for Abu Sayyaf leader Muhammad Aklam, who was killed in a military operation in Patikul, Sulu on August 26, 2016, received 600,000 pesos. An informant that led to the arrest of 3 terrorists in 2016 received 1.8 million pesos. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
The net satisfaction rating of President Rodrigo Duterte improved in the last quarter of 2019. Based on the fourth quarter of 2019 survey of the Social Weather Stations, or SWS, the chief executive got a new record high net satisfaction rating of 72% or excellent. This is 7 points higher than the 65% very good net satisfaction rating in September 2019. Malacanang welcomes the survey result. According to Presidential Communications Secretary Martin Andanar, Filipinos still support the president because they feel his legacy of real change. Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa confirmed that his U.S. visa had been canceled and was told to reapply if he wants to secure a U.S. visa again. The senator said he received the official response of the U.S. government to his query only last January 20. The senator was prompted to inquire about the status of his U.S. visa when rumors that it has been canceled circulated last month. Details surrounding the revocation, including when it became effective and why it was implemented, remain unclear for Senator De La Rosa. He, however, acknowledged it might be related to the alleged extrajudicial killings under his watch as chief of the Philippine National Police from 2016 to 2018. Welcome back to Y News. Not all, but only 8 barangays in Tagaytay City are under mandatory evacuation. Meanwhile, over 100 business establishments in the city are back to business as usual. Nina Armilio details why.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, has declared that 8 barangays in Tagaytay City are under a mandatory evacuation. These are Sambong, Bagong Tubig, Caybagal South, Maharlika West, Maharlika East, Crossing East, San Jose, and Tolentino East. Tagaytay City CDRRMO Chief Jose Clyde Yayong explains not all barangays in the city that are covered by the 14-kilometer danger zone would be reached by the anticipated base surge and volcanic tsunami should a major eruption of the Taal volcano take place. This is because several barangays are located on elevated ground.
Ito po kasing sa mga babang ito ay dito lang po yung merong residential areas. And ang elevation nito ay nasa 300 meters. Enforce kami dito ng forced evacuation sa dalawang barangay while the rest is voluntary evacuation.
The DILG has earlier advised the owners of business establishments within the 14-kilometer danger zone not to operate due to the effects of the Taal volcano's activities. But DILG Secretary Eduardo Año has earlier clarified it is up to the local government to decide whether to allow the business owners to operate or not.
As we have stated, it was already clarified by Secretary Año himself, no, na pinasasalamatan po namin City Mayor na they will leave it to the local government unit kung pasara or bukas yung mga business establishments.
Based on information from the city government, at least 122 business establishments in Tagaytay City have begun to resume their operations. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, have begun pulling out police officers deployed in areas within the 14-kilometer danger zone from the Taal volcano's crater. PNP spokesperson Police Brigadier General Bernard Banac explains this move is in accordance with the recommendation of PHIVOLCS, who has said it is risky to stay in areas near the volcano. The troop pullout happens today until tomorrow.
Ilalabas na natin ang mga pulis beyond the circumferential line. Meron tayong mga risk control points na itatalaga at doon lamang talaga mananatili na ang mga pulis natin para na rin sa safety ng ating kapulisan.
The PNP clarifies they will continue monitoring areas on lockdown as well as the evacuation centers. The PNP also calls on residents not to insist in returning to their homes due to imminent danger. Filipinos will soon hear or read advisories on the activities of the Taal volcano, which are easier to understand. Although there are scientific terms that are quite difficult to translate to Filipino terminology. Dante Amento tells us why.
The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, says it will release simplified advisories on the Taal volcano's activities. This comes after some affected residents requested for notices that could easily be understood. PHIVOLCS admits it is quite difficult to translate some words or expression pertaining to volcanic activities due to the unavailability of words for direct translation to the Filipino language. PHIVOLCS' next advisories will include visual information as well as data on the Taal volcano's activities.
Yung mga nagvo-volunteer po sa atin ng naisalin sa wikang Pilipino na mga bulletins, tinitingnan po namin, hindi po kasi rin eksakto yung pagkasalin dahil of course, yung agham sa ating bulletins, hindi nahuhuli ng pagkasalin.
The agency, however, admits they are having a hard time interpreting the magma deposits inside the volcano.
This is a dilemma actually, no? Kung paano natin i-interpret yung naka-pondo na magma, no, na dumaan at nagbasag-basag ng nagbitak-bitak ng lupa dito sa sa Timog Kanluran.
PHIVOLCS advises the public to ask their personnel on the field about any part of the advisory which they cannot understand. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
And for the news abroad, here's Stephanie C. reporting live from Hong Kong. Steph, good evening.
Good evening, Alex. The U.S. Senate has rejected repeated Democratic attempts to secure new evidence in President Donald Trump's impeachment as his trial began. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, meanwhile, backed off on a plan to fast-track the hearings after coming under pressure from fellow Republicans. Democrats said this would have been no less than a cover-up. Trump is charged with abuse of power and obstructing the congressional inquiry. At the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland on Tuesday, Trump dismissed the accusations against him as just a hoax. Neither uttered the other's name, but U.S. President Donald Trump and the Swedish climate campaigner Greta Thunberg took unmistakable aim at each other, reprising their roles as antagonists on the global stage. Jovic Burmas tells us why.
United States President Donald Trump has slammed climate prophets of doom in front of activist Greta Thunberg at the opening of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland on Tuesday. Trump did not directly reference the climate crisis or Thunberg, but said negative forecasts were wrong. He also announced the US will join the 1 Trillion Trees initiative launched at Davos.
This is not a time for pessimism. This is a time for optimism. Fear and doubt is not a good thought process, because this is a time for tremendous hope and joy and optimism and action. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse.
You say children shouldn't worry. You say, just leave this to us. We will fix this. We promise we won't let you down. Don't be so pessimistic. And then, nothing. Silence. Or something worse than silence. Empty words and promises which give the impression that sufficient action is being taken.
The 17-year-old Swedish activist has led an international movement of school strikes on the climate crisis. She criticized insufficient actions such as offsetting carbon emissions and programs to plant trees in one part of the world while deforestation continues. She called on all Davos participants for an immediate divestment in fossil fuels. The World Economic Forum is an annual meeting held in Davos that aims to engage the world's top leaders to tackle global, regional, and industry issues at the beginning of each year. This year, it will bring together 3,000 participants from around the world. Jovic Burmas, UNTV News and Rescue.
Hundreds of people held a protest to call on Puerto Rico Governor Wanda Vazquez to resign as they accuse her of bad management of the earthquake crisis. Meanwhile, hundreds of schools closed in Thailand's capital following air pollution levels in the city that have exceeded hazardous levels for weeks. Kato Maraos tells us why.
In Thailand, air pollution has forced the closure of all 437 schools run by Bangkok City Hall until next week, while other public and private schools in Bangkok and surrounding provinces will be closed on Thursday and Friday. The Bangkok Air Quality Index climbed to 170. A reading above 150 is classified as unhealthy on Tuesday morning, and the city was ranked as having the world's 9th worst air for a major city, according to independent air quality monitor Air Visual. Bangkok's Governor Aswin Kwanmuang designated January 31 and February 1 as holidays to help protect students from the current high levels of harmful ultrafine dust particles and also to reduce the use of private cars by parents. In Puerto Rico, dozens of demonstrators gathered Monday in front of the governor's mansion in Puerto Rico's capital to demand the resignation of the U.S. territory's governor and protest the recent discovery of apparently forgotten disaster supplies amid ongoing earthquakes. News of the unused emergency supplies spread on social media Saturday when a local blogger posted a video of the facility, which housed water, cots, and other relief supplies dating back to Hurricane Maria in 2017. Puerto Rico Governor Wanda Vazquez claimed she was also in the dark about the stash of supplies and fired 3 top government officials over the weekend: the Director of Emergency Management and the Commissioners of the Housing and Family Departments. Last week's 6.4 magnitude earthquake killed at least 1 person and cost an estimated $200 million in damage, sending more than 7,000 people to emergency shelters. And in Mexico, hundreds of migrants from Central America moved off a closed border bridge and waded across the Suchiate River at the Guatemala-Mexico border after Mexican officials informed the group they would not be permitted to move farther into the country. With the river low from the dry season, migrants were able to cross but were met with Mexico's National Guard lining the river's banks on the other side. The caravan of migrants are now on Mexican territory and are being prevented from transiting through the country by scores of armed Mexican National Guard members, some outfitted in riot gear, who are under orders from government officials to block their entry. The latest showdown between Central American migrants and Mexico's border enforcers comes after the Mexican government told the Trump administration it would clamp down on migration flows toward Mexico's border with the U.S. Trump has threatened to impose economic sanctions on Mexico if it doesn't crack down harder on migrants. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Stephanie C. reporting live from Hong Kong. 2 adventurers are circumnavigating the world on a sailboat in a bid to raise awareness of the plastic problem in the oceans. Jenny Rico has the story.
Diego Fernandez and Francisco Ruiz left Sanlúcar de Barrameda in Spain on September 20 on board a 21-meter boat kicking off a 3-year adventure. They are circumnavigating the world in a bid to raise awareness of the plastic problem in the oceans. The trip is divided into 20 stages. Each stage is crewed by 7 people, and by the end of the journey, some 140 volunteers will have contributed to the project. Over the course, the team will collect water samples to analyze the amount of microplastics and map the plastic pollution with the help of the Spanish Institute of Oceanography.
Scientists are starting to worry about how that is being incorporated into the trophic chain of the human being, because these microplastics are part of the fish food which we then feed on.
Pero el viaje a la Luna, comparado con esto, era relativamente sencillo. Se sabía dónde se quería ir.
Microplastics are present in everyday products like cosmetics, and they reach the oceans through drainage systems. They can also be produced by the breakup of larger plastics. The crew follows in the footsteps of Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan and Spanish explorer Juan Sebastián Elcano, who began their voyage on September 20, 1519. They completed it 3 years later, with 18 members of the 250 sailors who comprised the initial crew. Jenny Rico, UNTV News and Rescue.
A group of divers discovered that cabbage corals in a town in Batangas are also affected by volcanic ash coming from Taal. A dive master explains those corals may soon die without strong water current. June Soriao reports why, exclusive.
Dive master Kevin Asturias, together with his friend, decided to swim underwater yesterday in Barangay Balite, San Luis Town in Batangas. Kevin shares he wondered how the volcanic ash is affecting corals, considering the thick ashes covering the roads.
Kasi po nag-iisip din po kami dahil nga sa ashfall kung ano po nangyari sa ilalim ng dagat saka po yung pagdindol. So gusto rin po namin subukan kung anong nangyari sa mga corals. Kaya po sinubukan namin mag-dive po ni Jeff kahapon. Tapos sa pag-dive po namin kahapon, nakita po namin may mga ashfall nga po sa ibabaw ng corals. Tapos sinubukan po namin siyang i-wash. Nakita po namin mga nagwa-weight nagbi-bleach na po yung mga corals. Kaya parang unti-unti na po siyang pinapatay. Pero ang maganda naman po doon, hindi naman po halos lahat yung buong corals yung natabunan. May mga ispat-ispat lang po na tinamaan ng mga ashfall.
Kevin discovered the soft corals are not that much affected, though he wishes for strong water current to wash away or lessen the ash that has covered the cabbage corals. The dive master explains that if the sunshine does not reach the cabbage corals, they might die. Kevin's group also experienced tremors underwater when they went diving.
Mga nasa 30 minutes na po kami ni Jeff. Bigla po may umugong na malakas. Yung mga dalawang sunod po namin. Tapos tumingin po kami sa taas. Akala namin parang may malaking barko na parang ugong. Tapos nagtingin na po kami dalawa. Ano yun? Lumilindol yun.
Kevin and other dive enthusiasts say they are ready to act in order to save the newly discovered coral reef in San Luis, Batangas from damages due to the effects of the volcanic ash. June Soriao, UNTV News and Rescue, San Luis, Batangas.
And those are the reasons behind the news this January 22, 2020. On behalf of Angelo Castro III, I am Alex Baltazar. And before we close, we will recap with today's significant sound bites. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
Konting ubo, wala na pong lagnat, pero nakakapagtaka lang bakit yung nanay wala naman sintomas na ipinakita. Kaya meron pa rin posibilidad na baka hindi naman talaga ito posible, hindi ito novel coronavirus.
Itong mga earthquakes na to ay unti-unti na silang nag-diminish, pati yung mga low-frequency events. Pero hindi ibig sabihin ay kampante na tayo.
They're undergoing investigation as of the moment, and then we're in the process of gathering additional evidence. And we will be also consulting with the Office of the Department of Justice prosecutors on this account, so that we'll be able to file a strong case against the suspects.
Sinabi namin, we are considering all sentiments and yung recommendations. That's why we came up into this adding of area of study and the raising up of the cap.
Pag natapos na yung Skyway, luluwag din ng EDSA. So, term ni President, ma-decongest natin ng EDSA. At yung 5 minutes from Cubao to Makati, posible po.